Hi guys, welcome back to Just Talking, where I talk at you and you sometimes listen. So today we're ranking and reviewing all of the dark rides at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, and this was actually recommended to me by a very nice subscriber, Oliver Dunkley, so thank you very much for that. And of course, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to like, comment and subscribe, and let's get into number 1. So of course, this has to be the Ghost Train, and in my opinion this is possibly one of the best dark rides in the UK. I don't even think Jewel really comes very close to this at Alton Towers, which is their sort of Ghost Train target sort of ride. But it does utilise traditional blacklight and limited motion animatronics, which does give it quite a lot of charm, even in the latter section of the ride, which features some scenes from Trauma Towers. That even still utilises quite restricted animatronics, which I do quite like because I never am a fan of things that move all too much. I'm not necessarily a scaredy cat or anything, but I do quite like the fact that they use slower animatronics, and it does give it that sort of creepy feel of things not moving as much and things being quite static and lifeless, and I think that's a really great thing that they've used. And also sometimes pretty animated animatronics can look pretty weird after a short period of time, but things that move a little, they will always be timeless. So it does also have a great history, and the park displays that with pride, calling it the oldest ghost train there in the world, and also the sort of most haunted ghost train in the world as well. And it's always nice to play around with the Cloggy story, and if you don't know what that is, it's about an employee named Cloggy who died in the ride. Some say he died by getting caught up in the clogs and the mechanical systems of the ride. Other people just say that he died, but it's quite a fun story to have a good laugh with while you're on the ride. And it does also have a decent throughput to say that each train can only hold 2 people, and it is also a 4-minute ride. So to say they can actually turn around queues in maybe like 30 minutes is quite a high queue time for this, maximum an hour if you're at a really busy day. But they do have pretty good throughput for that, and normally they're running about between 12 to 16 trains. I believe 16 is the maximum that they can run on it at any given time. So I really do think that the throughput is very good, especially given its age too, because the track there is actually a few decades old at this point as well. So it does also have an okay merchandise selection in hoodies and pins, and the pins really feature the 2 train designs, which is purple and I believe green or blue, and also the logo. I only actually found out that they were redoing the Ghost Train hoodies today actually, because they did one for the anniversary, which I really wanted, and then they stopped doing that after that season, which was last season. And of course I really wanted to get some Ghost Train merch, and it turns out they do actually have some. I didn't really know about that, so I'm definitely going to be picking some of that up when I next go to the park. So there is also updated and repainted sort of scenes every single off-season. They haven't really done very much maintenance to the facade, and of course the picture on the right is my favourite facade that the Ghost Train's ever had. And it does also have some additions from Vampire Beach events, such as some of the exterior theming, some of that has been from there, and some of the scenes inside have used some of the effects that they'll use in like the entrances to the park, so you'll find them in there too, which I think is really nice that they're still updating it and still giving it the maintenance it needs. But also some of the effects aren't working, which I hope they will rectify in the off season this year. So for number 2, of course, this has to go to the River Caves. So it has an unbeatable wonder every time, and a fitting soundtrack too. Of course, some people will have the opinion that the Blue Grotto's lost most of its charm after, of course, Wallace and Gromit came in and they removed the Magnolia Cafe, where there used to be massive stalactites and, of course, all the water fountains in there as well. But I think that the soundtrack does make up for that, and I really like relaxing on the ride as well. It's a really great ride, and even though its animatronics are quite restricted, I do still think that there's quite a great amount of charm and still wonder in just the sheer size and impressiveness of all the sets in there. So of course its stationary figures, as I've mentioned, and restricted animatronics do give it charm, but it does make it more of a relaxing experience. I'm not a big fan of more advanced dark rides in all honesty. I feel like having things that move way too much means you need to focus on things too much, and that means that it just kind of loses its charm, and you can't ride it multiple times because, it just feels like it's too animated and you need to be paying attention to a certain thing. But of course, I do quite like how they are restricted, so it's more relaxing and you don't have to use very much attention to actually go on the ride. And I think that's always nice for something that's taking you around the world because, when you are on your travels, you will focus on your own things in your own time rather than something being drawn to your attention automatically. So it does also make for a great ride for any age with some educational content throughout it. A lot of the architecture is pretty accurate for the time, and of course the animatronics, they are also pretty accurate as well, so that's always nice. There are also lots of details to look at, to the point where most people haven't seen everything. It's like if you look behind you in the dinosaur section, you'll actually see some sort of fossils behind you as well. You can look behind you at any point in the ride and there'll be something different on the other wall that you'll never have seen. And Lord knows why they even included that detail, because not many people would. So I'm really impressed that they have actually made that attention to detail, especially given the age that the ride is at as well. So the only merchandise it does have at the minute is in the Journey to Hell range. Of course, that's on the right in the Cursed River Caves. I'm very excited for that. If you'd like to check out the full maze arrangement, I did do a video on that as well. So there is also an issue with the throughput, and that really depends on the day of visit. If you visit on a regular day where the throughput is decent because there's not too many people there, you won't really have too much of an issue. So yeah, it really just depends on the day you visit. But if you go on one when it's really busy, then you're going to be waiting 1 hour to 2 hours. I did that last time I went, and it was horrible. So in number 3, of course, this is Alice in Wonderland. Of course, you'll find out why I didn't put Wallace and Gromit in number 3, which is, of course, going to be number 4. So I do adore this ride. It has so much charm and nostalgia with it. The soundtrack and smell is actually purposeful, and that is to make it more familiar, and of course it does work. And of course, I don't mind Golden Ticket being playing throughout the ride. I actually quite like it. I'd rather it be that than having clips from the film or different audio clips and different music. I think it's quite nice that it's consistent. Also, like River Caves, it does have so many details and scenes to look at that it's hard to know if you've seen everything. I would recommend going on Alice in Wonderland once and then going on it again, and instead of looking to your right where most of your focus will be, look up or look to your left instead, because trust me, there are a lot more things to look at on either side. If you look to the left and down when you're going down one of the sort of descents, you will actually see another scene down there, and it's very hard to see unless you actually twist your head quite a bit because it is underneath the track area. And of course, that's incredible that they've put so many things in there that some people might not have even noticed it. I go on the ride sometimes and think, did they add that in? But they haven't, it's always been there. If you watch videos, there are so many different details that you wouldn't pay attention to ordinarily. So it's a really great ride in the details. So it does also have a limited range of merchandise on offer, but that is reasonable due to right restrictions. Even though Alice in Wonderland was a book before it was a film, of course Disney will want to enforce their copyright as much as they can. But of course, the merchandise I have is pretty based on the books and, offers some art that's inspired by the book. So, that they are quite nice, but very limited too. So it does also have a poor throughput. If you're going to go on it, I'd recommend going on it at the start of the day, but it's reasonably easy to understand. The character cars, where it has one of the characters from the book on the back of the train, that is a 3-person one if you have 2 kids in the front or 2 adults. But if it's without a character, then you can fit 2 adults, 2 kids, or 4 adults at a push, or 3 adults. So of course the throughput will be pretty slow. So of course in number 4 we do have Wallace and Gromit's Thrill-O-Matic. So it is a great dark ride displaying all of the Wallace and Gromit films. That includes Curse the Were-Rabbit, and Matter of Love and Death, A Grand Day Out, A Close Shave, and all that good stuff. So it is a simple yet engaging queue line for the ride. It does play documentaries about the ride and about the films from Aardman, and it does also sometimes play some of the films. But also there are a few posters to look at in there which are sort of parodies of products from the actual shows and films, such as the wrong trousers. Those are the space trousers on the adverts and things, and that's quite nice to have a look at, and always look at the nice artwork provided by Aardman for them. Depending on which day you visit, it has a horrendous throughput. Really, on even quiet days, it has a really bad throughput. I don't know whether that's to the fault of the ride and the amount of trains which are themed to slippers going around, or, just anything else, the staff, I'm not too sure. But I do normally, towards the end of the day, if you go on it at the start of the day, then it will typically be anywhere between 10 minutes and 30 minutes, but I have queued up for it for an hour. At one point on the last day I visited, it got to 2 hours, so that's pretty harsh as well. So there is also an expansive range of merchandise in the shop, which is through the exit, where you can get your pictures. You can also get clothing, homeware, accessories, and stuffed animals. You can actually make your own stuffed animal as well. I believe that's Shaun the Sheep and the dog from Shaun the Sheep, which I can't remember the name of. But of course there is a wide variety of merchandise, including some sweets in there as well. And I do believe they have also added some garden statues too. So there is a wide variety of merchandise, and it's all very well themed and very high quality, as the rest of the Blackpool Pleasure Beach merchandise is. There is also great audio and visual effects, but it is lacking in some areas. I say this all the time, that towards the end, when the train chase scene with my favourite character, Feathers McGraw, you can actually see the preceding scenes during that, because the lighting isn't dark enough, which is very disappointing, because, it is executed so well, but, it just kind of ruins the atmosphere and the engagement of it, in all honesty. So it is obviously a good replacement for the Goldmine ride, which would be considered very outdated now, and did obviously lack and was quite repetitive, in all honesty. Apart from the Blue Grotto, there wasn't necessarily anything too exciting about Goldmine, so I do think it's a good replacement, and I would like to see it get many improvements in the future. So that's really it for this video. I'm really glad I got to do this. It's been really fun ranking all of these dark rides, because in my opinion, nothing beats a classic dark ride, and I'm not a massive fan of the ones over in America, and really in the rest of the UK. There isn't too many in the rest of the UK either, but of course, I really do like dark rides, especially ones at the Pleasure Beach. And yeah, that's really it for this video. If you didn't, of course, enjoy this, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, this was just talking. Bye bye.